end game. Well, you all have something to say about the middle game, which is great. I'm glad that at least there's some ideas there. So let's step into it. So in this lesson, we are going to focus on learning the 4-step methods to play good chess middle games. So this is sort of the rough part of it, but I'll adjust it quickly as we are going in the lesson. But I like to put lesson notes so that there is structure. We need to be following some order in our lessons so that we don't get carried away. So the first thing that you have said, if I remember, complicated. It's complicated. More difficult than the opening. Full of tactics and strategy. All right, number 2. Yeah, there were many other things said, but at least those are the main ones that sort of come to mind. It's between the opening and the middle game. It's between the opening and middle game, right? And you said other things along these lines. But one thing.
What do you mean
endgame? Endgame. You see, I'm so excited about the end middle game. I can't stop thinking about it. Now, of course, yeah, I made a mistake, but I was thinking about writing middle game, so I wrote middle game instead of end game. It's between the opening and the end game. So this is some of the things that you guys have dropped. But in all the things that you said, I didn't really hear anyone speak about some of these keywords. Make plans and all of those things. Space advantage. These things I didn't really hear anyone come up with. And really, the middle game is highlighted by such things. Planning. But of course, plans start right from the opening. You start to plan. So think of the opening as the preparation for the middle game. Usually, normally, in other words, the best place to start a plan of an attack is in the middle game. It is a mistake to start attacking right at the beginning of the game, in the opening. You must develop your pieces to their best squares possible so that you are ready to start a plan of an attack in the middle game. Now, this is what I'm going to show you. The 4-step methods to playing good middle games. So this is the lesson goal. Learn the 4-step methods to play good chess middle games. The same way that you need to know the strategy in the opening. So let's check it. So Bongaleti and Ethan were here last month when we were looking at openings. So I won't ask them to give answers right now. I'll first start with Zoe and then Ethan. What are the 3 most important things that you need to do in the opening, Zoe?
Develop castle and put your pieces on the best squares.
Okay, develop castle. So we'll take those 2. Put your pieces on the best squares is not the one, but the 2 are good, very good. But good guess. Ethan, what did she leave out?
Connect your rooks.
So castle and connect rooks are part of the same. So castle early in the game. So usually castle instead we write king safety. King safety.
I think I might know the next one.
Yes, go ahead.
Is it put your pawns to the center?
Correct. Very good. We have a winner, right? Ding, 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 ding. Right. Control the center. Castle early to connect rooks. So this one you can throw it in when you say king safety. Castle early to connect rooks. And then the other point, as Zoe remembered, control the center. Control the center. Now, these are the 3 things that you could call the opening to-do list. Right? You know, at the house, you can have a to-do list. You need to do certain chores. You need to do certain homework, you need to do certain activities. So in the opening, there's an opening to-do list. This is what you need to do if you want to play well in the opening. So the same way that we have these three things that are important in the opening, it's also the same in middle games. We need to have a middle game to-do list. So the middle game to-do list, which has the 4-step method. Right, 4-step method. So if you follow these 4 things, you are going to play good in the middle games. Number 1, look for a target to attack in the opponent's half of the board. This is the most important thing to remember in the middle game. There's nothing more important than that first thing. The best move in chess is an attacking move. So when we reach in the middle game, we need to look for a target to attack in the opponent's half of the board. So before we go to the second point, we need to know what is a target in chess. So you can raise hand. By the way, if you have an answer, you must raise hand so we don't speak at the same time. Or unless I call you by name, then you can just unmute. But if I don't say your name, you must raise hand so that it's nice and orderly. All right. So what is an example? What is an example of a target? Keithan?
King and weak pawn.
Okay, king. Ethan?
Weak pieces or pawns.
Right, weak pieces and pawns, but really weak pawns. Those are targets. So I think Zoe wanted to say something. Zoe, go ahead. What do you want to say?
No, I never raised my hand.
Yes, but I think you unmuted. I heard your voice, but then you muted. So what did you want to say?
No, I didn't unmute.
Oh, okay, that's fine. All right. So maybe I was hearing things. So okay, so king, weak pawns. Yes.
Someone did unmute.
Okay, thanks, Zoe. Right, so king, weak pawns. Those are 2 targets. What are the targets that do you think are on the chessboard? What are the targets? Okay, Bongoletu.
I think it's weak squares.
Weak squares, very good. Weak squares. Zoe, what do you think is another example of a target on the chessboard?
You can try target the king.
Right, so the king is the number 1 target. It's there. What are the targets that are not on the list do you think are there?
Can you target the center?
Well, in a way, very clever answer. Yeah, you can target the center, but not so much. It's not a fit, but the target we are looking for is this. Hanging pieces. Good answer though. Very good answer. Well thought out, but we are looking for this one. Hanging pieces. Hanging pieces drop off the board. This is a fact. If you want to quickly lose games of chess, have hanging pieces. You are going to lose the game. This is a fact. So a hanging piece means a piece that is not defended. It is not defended by the pieces of the same color. That is a hanging piece. So that counts as a target. So of course, and last type of target, pieces of high price, right, or value, whichever one you want to use. Price is more easy because I like you to remember the value of pieces as money. The queen is 9 rands, the rook is 5 rands, the bishop and the knight are both 3 rands, and the pawn is 1 rands, because money is more easy to remember than material. One of the biggest problem we have in the beginner and intermediate, really even advanced players, or even grandmasters sometimes, is giving pieces away, blundering pieces away. So we need to try as much as possible to know the price of the piece, because when we know the price of the piece, We won't be careless with it. So a target is a piece of high value. So what are two examples of pieces of high price that you can give that are on the chessboard? Keithan?
A queen.
A queen. Zoe?
A rook.
Correct, right? A queen and a rook. Ethan?
Technically the king.
Yes, but the king stands on its own. The king is the highest
Yeah,
price.
technically you couldn't take it, but you can threaten to win the game
Yes, that's
by
why the king.
attacking it.
Yes, that is correct. But that's why the king is right at the beginning of the list. It's right at the beginning of the list because of the fact that if you lose your king, you lose the game. The king is your life in the game of chess. Okay. Now, we now know what we are talking about. We are still just drawing things on the board. We are going to try and see many examples of this. So look for a target to attack in the opponent's half of the board. You must practice to divide the board. Only see from the side of the board the opponent is and look for these things. Can I attack their king? So this is what you are saying to yourself when you are looking for a target to attack on the opponent's half of the board. This is the first step of the 4-step method. Look, can I attack their king now? If I can't, can I attack weak pawns? Let's make sure that everyone knows what weak pawns are. What are weak pawns? Yes. I think, who raised their hand first? I think Zoe. Was it Zoe who raised their hand first?
No, it was Ethan, I think,
Okay,
first.
Ethan. Okay, go ahead, Ethan.
Weak pawns are basically pawns that, well, it's in the that are weak. Sometimes they're undefended. Sometimes they're easily attackable.
Okay.
Sometimes it's just basically they're on weak squares.
Mhm. Okay.
I think weak pawns are also pawns that don't have many defenders, and maybe doubled pawns can also be weak.
All right. Keithan?
I think weak pawns is a pawn that's not defended by another pawn.
Right. So that is the correct meaning of a weak pawn. Zoe gave an example of a weak pawn, doubled pawns. That's an example of a weak pawn. So I think we need to start using the board to show us some of these things. So a weak pawn, this is an example of a pawn structure with weaknesses. So we are going to see righto. So the textbook meaning of a weak pawn is this. A weak pawn is a pawn that cannot be defended by another pawn. That is what a weak pawn is. Any pawn that cannot be defended by the pawn of the same color, this is an example of a weak pawn on the chessboard. So the pawn on d5 highlighted in red is an example of a weak pawn. This pawn, because it can't be defended by other pawns, we can target it and try to attack it. When a weak pawn is there, the pieces must defend a weak pawn because the pawns can't defend it. And this gives us an advantage. So we'll see some of these things in this lesson. So that's a weak pawn. Okay, now what is a weak square? What is a weak square in chess? Okay, it looked very fast there, but I think Zoe, since you're on top. Zoe?
I think a weak square is sort of like a weak pawn. It is a square that is not protected or attacked in some cases by a piece.
Okay, good guess. Very good. Well done. Okay, Ethan, you are number 2.
I think I also agree with Zoe, but also weak pawns can be, for example, squares in front of pawns. even if it is weak squares can sometimes be squares in front of pawns. So
Okay.
basically, also as Zoe said, it can't be defended by another pawn or piece. Sometimes it can. It basically it is. I kind of don't know how to explain it.
That's fine, but at least you are trying, which is good. Well done. All right, Keithan.
I think a weak square is a square that's not protected by a piece or a pawn.
Okay. Very good. Bongoleti, your hand was raised.
I think a weak square, so it's a square that is not protected by your opponent's pieces.
Okay. So this one, all of us are a little bit not sure. So let me take away the confusion. Listen, boys and girls, a weak square is a square that cannot be defended by a pawn. Ding, ding, ding. The pawns are your life in chess. The pawns, there was a famous French chess player many years ago in the 1700s. That's almost over 300 years ago. He came up with a saying telling the people of his time that the pawns are the soul of the chessboard. In other words, they make up the formation of the chessboard. You cannot attack or defend with a bad pawn formation. The pawns are the most important when it comes to planning. So this is one of the biggest lessons you learn as we work together on the middle game. Really, we'll focus mostly on middle game since that's the topic. But I'll also drop a few things in openings and middle game. For instance, don't get, yes, go ahead.
Wasn't pawn to the soul of the game was said by Philidor?
It is Philidor. Very good. Yes, that's him who said it. Right, the French player. Keith, and your hand is still raised. Do you have a question?
sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, no.
Accidentally.
So a weak square is a square on the board, especially here. A weak square is a square on the 6th, the 4th, the 3rd rank. Sorry. A weak square is a square on the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th rank that cannot be defended by a pawn. If a pawn can't defend a square, that is the meaning of a weak square. So let us try to use the knowledge we have taken. Let's only look at the now so that we learn these things practically. The first job we need to look for is look for a target to attack in the opponent's half of the board. So this is what I mean. Say we are playing white. We divide the board like this. Our eyes are only looking at white, the black side of the board. We forget about our own side. We are trying to look for a target from rank number 5 to 8. That's only where we are focusing. This is what you are supposed to do in method 1, in step 1. Look for a target to attack in the opponent's half of the board. That's the step. Divide the board like that. To put arrows in your head, I need to only look for targets here. Right? But for this purpose, for this point, to look for weak squares, we need to look on the 5th and the 6th rank. Because we can't have pawns on the 8th rank, right? We know that. As well as the pawn no pawn can protect another pawn on the 8th rank. So the pawns on the 6th and the 5th rank can be protected by pawns or the squares also. So name one weak square on the 5th and the 6th rank for black that we can target. Keithan?
C6.
A5.
Okay, C6 by Keithan. Keithan, you said E5.
I said A5, but yeah, E5 is also.
I know, but why
I thought you said Ethan.
Sorry, yeah,
before.
the names are very close. Yeah. So yeah, but now Ethan, stay with me. Why is E5 not a weak square?
Oh, I thought C6 you highlighted.
Yes,
It's protected by a pawn e5. I meant a5.
okay, yeah, okay, very good. So that's correct. So a5 is not protected by pawn. So these two, in fact, we mustn't give them green, give them yellow for weakness. What are the squares? Bongoletu, what is a weak square on the 5th and the 6th rank for black you can target?
So the C5.
Yes, very good. C5. All right, Zoe, what is another weak square on the 5th and the 6th rank you can target for black?
We can target d6.
Correct, we can target D6. Good job, guys. These squares cannot be defended by pawns, and those are weak squares. And I'll give you a bonus tip. Normally, knights like to go on weak squares of the opponent. If you can get a knight to sit here, you have a monster of a knight. It is a beautiful knight, and it will cause many, many problems for the opponent. They will have a nightmare because the knight is there. It will be attacking everything, and when they make a mistake, the folks will come from everywhere. So usually the rule actually says, if you can get your knight to sit on the 6th rank of the opponent on a weak square, your position is winning. You have a winning advantage. If the knight sits on the 5th square, you have a better position, meaning if you play correctly, you have a winning advantage already. So that is the power of a weak square. But like I said, we'll see some of these things soon. Now, are we clear on step 1 of the 4-step method about the first thing in the middle game to do is look for a target to attack in the opponent's camp? Is everyone clear, or are there any questions?
No.
Okay, wonderful. Now, first of all, we actually skipped this part here. What you should know before this lesson: when does the middle game start? When do you know that you are now in the middle game? Zoe?
I think I know when I'm in the middle game when when a few pieces have been swapped off, but not enough to get into the end game.
Okay, very good job. Well tried. Keithan?
When
I
I'm
think
in
the middle game starts when the
Sorry, it's Keithan,
when the three.
not Ethan.
Sorry.
Maybe I'll just call Keithan, is it fine for now if I just use Naidu? Or maybe say
Yeah.
the whole name, that would be better. Yeah, okay. Keithan Naidu, go ahead.
When I'm in the middle game, then I'm castled and I develop my pieces and
Okay, very good. Okay, Ethan.
I was about to say that it's when the three opening steps are completed.
Okay, very good. Bongoletu.
Things is the same thing. It's when you have done the opening.
Right,
That's
when you-
what it-
yeah, the opening to-do list. But basically, the middle game is when you know you are in the middle game. Now, there are exceptions, of course, but 9 out of 10 times, the middle game starts when the rooks are smiling at each other. When the rooks are smiling at each other. Now, I say it very silly so that I try to make you remember it forever. The middle game starts when the rooks are smiling at each other. This is what it means to connect rooks. When rooks are connected, they are smiling because now they are able to get into the game. Yes, so
You said each. You never said each other.
okay, I didn't finish the sentence. Good job. Right. When they are smiling at each other. So let's see some of these things so we can see it and believe it. E4, E5, Knight F3. So everyone is following the opening principles. D3, Bishop C5, castles, Bishop to G5. Okay, Bishop E7, Knight to D2, D6, Queen E2. Now, White has reached the middle game because white's rooks are smiling at each other. Right? Let's make a smile nice and bright. The rooks are smiling at each other. White has arrived in the middle game because the rooks are connected. That's what I mean by smiling at each other. When your rooks are connected, why is it so important for rooks to connect? So that they are able to come into the game by going to central squares, either on the C file, on the D file, or the E file. That's where the open files are going to come out. Because rooks want files to be open so they can enter into the game. If the rooks remain in the corner, they won't be able to play or participate in the game. And now black also reaches the middle game soon after. Now black is in the middle game as well. The rooks are smiling at each other. And now this is the point where we start following our 4-step method. White has to start looking for targets to attack in the opponent's side of the board. So white, it's now white's turn to move. We are on move 10, so both sides are in the middle game. So white needs to stop. Take a few moments to pause and ask themselves the first step. Now, I'll read the general stuff so you understand it right away. Number one, what we are going in detail in the middle game, look for targets or weaknesses in your opponent's position. Main job is to create them. So what do they mean by this? If you can't find targets or you can't find weaknesses, you want to create those targets. You want to force the opponent to have these targets or weaknesses. And now you want to make plans based on the targets in your opponent's position. How can you attack them? So basically that's the plan. How can I attack those targets? And when you have an attack going, or these are just some rule of thumbs, these are general things to remember. When you have an attack going on the opponent's king, avoid trading queens because the queen is the best attacking piece. So if you have an attack that is crashing against the king, try to keep your queen because you'll be able to checkmate if you continue attacking well. Keep your king safe, usually behind 2 pawns or 2 or 3 pawns near the corner. In the middle game, the king cannot come into the center because it might be exposed. And also try to gain space advantage. But these are just general things to remember. So the 4-step method takes all these things and tries to give you a step-by-step method that will make it clear and easy for you to do in every middle game. Go ahead, Zoe.
I just want to say that there's 5 things there, not 4.
No, that's not, yeah, the 4-step method is this. That other stuff were just general guidelines, you see. Those are just things you should know. But these methods, that's why I'm putting 1, 2. Do you see that?
Yes.
Very good. Okay. But well done for spotting that. So now we are going to number 2. Number 2 is to activate the least active piece. Now, in your head, if you are looking for targets to attack, and we now know what are the targets. King, pawn, weak pawns, weak squares, hanging pieces, pieces of high price or value. Activate the least active piece. What is a piece that is not active? Zoe?
I think the least active piece is a piece that can be blocked off or is not really doing much. Maybe it's backward.
Okay. That's a good guess. Very good. Keith and I do.
Think least active pieces like the king.
Okay, the least active piece like the king. Okay, I'll show you examples of this. Yes, Zoe.
Yes.
Your hand was raised. What do you want to say?
Oh, sorry, I think I raised it by accident.
Oh, okay. Maybe you didn't put it down earlier. Okay, Bongo, let you.
I think the least active piece is the piece that cannot attack or defend. That is completely out of the game.
Right. Piece that is completely out of the game. Very good. Okay. Kitten Naidu.
Oh, and also least active piece is also a piece that is blocked in by 2 pieces.
Yeah, blocked in by a lot of pieces. Okay. So now the 4-step method is shaping up. Number 1, look for a target to attack. By the way, very good answers. I'll show you an example of all that you were saying, which will make it much more clear. Number 1, look for a target to attack in the opponent's half of the board. This is the most important thing in every middle game. Everyone, you must focus on that. It is extremely important. Very, very important. So how important is it to look at this thing? Kitten Naidu.
It's very important.
No, very, very important. You missed out the other very, right? It's very, very important. You need to look for a target to attack in the opponent's half of the board. The best moves in chess are the moves that attack. Always start by looking at forward attacking moves when you are in the middle game, right? And finally, make plans to attack the targets. You need to make a plan to attack the targets. Your plan should be 3 to 5 moves long, and I'll explain why. Your plan should be 3 to 5 moves long. Why do I say 3 to 5 moves long? You don't have to have a plan for 60 moves ahead. Ethan?
It's because regularly you have to have a plan for that long, because you need to first find out if that plan works. If you're like
Exactly.
analyzing 50 moves, you'll forget the position for one, then you'll realize that you skipped a move, or that they can do this and the thing, and you'll have to reanalyze the whole thing. So basically, once you've analyzed that and see that it's a good position, or the attack works, then once you get to that point where you finished analyzing, you should analyze the next 3 to 5 moves.
Correct. Okay, very good. I like that answer. Thank you. Kitten Naidu.
It's better to work with little time, instead of going like too long and then you don't know what you're doing. So you
Yes.
could make little plans.
Yeah, so I like both of the points that you boys have raised, but also another point is you are playing against a human being. They are not going to allow you to get your plan to work all the time. So they will try to stop your plan. So when they stop your plan, say your plan was to attack the king, they defend that plan, we can change the plan to attacking the weak pawns. If they defend that plan, we can change the plan to attack the weak squares. We can change the plan to attack hanging pieces. We can change the plan to attack pieces of high price. Sorry. Okay. Sorry about that. Right, so this is the point. The plan can change. You must always be flexible. In other words, don't be too stubborn. If you want to attack the king, even if it's not working, you want to attack, then it won't help you. And also, if you plan too long, your plan might be not good, because the opponent might have a very good defense, and then you play all those moves and end up losing material. So always try to see how can your opponent stop your plan, and try to find the tactics they can use to stop your plan. And also activate the least active piece. And then the last thing in the 4-step method, bring all your pieces to the center. Bring all your pieces your pieces to the center. Very important. Very, very important. What they call in chess, centralization. So that's basically what this word means with all the words involved. Bring all your pieces to the center. The center is the place where the piece have the most activity. So we must bring the pieces to the center. Now, activate the least active piece. A piece that is not developed needs to be brought to a good and most advanced square possible, so that we make sure the piece is doing both attack and defense. If the piece is not doing that, it is not active. So now we have sort of, now you see it, the middle game to-do list, 4-step method. This is all that it's about. And now we are not going to stop here. We are going to start looking at examples. If there is any questions, please go ahead and ask the questions so that you won't just keep hearing me talk and you are not sure of some things. So let's take a database and analyze some of these things. All right. So the first thing we are going to look at is to take games by one of the greatest chess players to ever play the game. The former world chess champion, Jose Raul Capablanca, from the country called Cuba. He was one of the greatest positional players, or players who like to play getting an advantage step by step, step by step, step by step. He was a master at that, a master. And there's a reason he became a world champion. And he was, many people call him a genius. Even Magnus Carlsen says Capablanca was a genius. He was a genius in planning and a genius in endgames. His games are amazing. So with all of that hype, let us explore, let us go back in time and explore some of these things we are learning from one of the greatest chess players to ever play the game. Jose Raul Capablanca from Cuba. So this is a game he played in 1910, many years ago. So the game began by d4. We are not focusing on openings. We'll go straight into our portion, which is the middle game. And as soon as we reach it, we have reached the middle game. It has happened. The middle game, white has reached the middle game. So question, quick question. Is white in the middle game and is black in the middle game? Ethan?
White is in the middle game and black is not.
All right. So now what I'll also train you, don't just give me an answer. I need you to tell me why. So why do you say white is in the middle game?
Because the rooks are connected.
Very good. And why is black not in the middle game?
Because of the exact opposite reason. Their
Correct.
rooks aren't connected.
Correct. All right. So Keith and Naidu.
I was gonna say the same thing. And also
Alright.
the bishop is not developed.
Correct. Very good. So I suppose Bongoletu, you are going to say the same thing also.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. So now let us see. Now we are going to play like Capablanca here. It is the time to see if this 4-step method works. Is this crazy man just telling us things that don't work? Or do the grandmasters actually follow these things and use them in every game? So now you have the 4-step method. So have a look at it, right? And then I'm going to give you 1 or 2 minutes to look at that position and try to tell me what move you would play and why. So you can say the list out loud so you remember it easily. And then when I show you the position, I'll ask you to tell me what move you would play and why. Please, I give 1 point for a good answer and 1 or 2 points for good explanation. It's more important I see you understand than give me a right answer. I want to see why you know what you know. Because if you are able to explain what you know, then you really know what you know, right? You know that you know that you know. Okay. Bueno, which is Spanish for good. let us begin. So you have about a minute. You have 1 minute to come up with a move for white. It is the white's turn. So the opponent castled. Now it is the white's turn. You are going to be playing white. What are you going to do here and why? If you have an answer, you can raise a hand. Okay, Keith and I do.
I think, but I'm not sure. But I would play bishop to d3
Bishop to d3. Why would you play bishop d3?
because a weak square is on h7 and it's attacking it. But it can be stopped by g6.
Okay, so you are saying your target is the king.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Zoe, what would you play?
Well, I think I've got two moves that I would like to play. One
Yes.
of them was also going to be bishop to d3.
Okay,
For one of them is the same reason as Kirsten said, and the other is that I would not like for that bad knight to take our good-looking bishop. The
Okay.
other move is a4. I would like to target that knight as well, maybe to go, but the knight could just go to d5. That's the other problem for that
Okay.
move.
Okay, but very good. Well thought out, Zoe. Good job. All right. So I suppose Ethan and Bongoletu, you guys are still thinking? Yes, Bongoletu.
I'm thinking of rook f to d1, attacking the center, and I'm thinking of d5 because we are trying to get more pieces to the center.
Okay. All right. Very good idea. Okay, Keithan.
I
I was thinking of knight to e5, centralizing the knight. But I was also looking for more attacking moves, but it is attacking f7.
Yes, very good. Well done. Okay. So Keith and I do.
I would play also e4 because yeah, e4 because you can push d5, and it also, if the queen takes, you can play bishop to d3, and then you got a bishop that's attacking the queen and attacking the weak pawn by the h7.
Now you are saying a weak pawn. What did we say is the meaning of a weak pawn? Remember, we said a weak pawn, we must find it here on the 6th and the 5th rank. Right? Yes, Keithan.
I was just about to say we should find it on the 6th and the 5th rank.
Yes, that's where we find weak pawns and weak squares. The pawn on h7, it's a, yeah, or sure, it is weak by definition because the king is defending it. But yeah, losing a pawn for that might be a bit much. So let us see now some of those plans and look at that. Zoe managed to find the idea that the former world champion came up with, which is a4. a4 makes a lot of sense. a4, we have a weak pawn and in general in chess, weak pawns must be pushed so that we can exchange it for better pawns. Now, yeah, by the way, this is a bonus tip. You can take this to the bank. If you have bad pieces, if you have weak pawns, exchange them with the opponent's pieces. That's the best way to get rid of weaknesses because you don't want to stay with weaknesses. Exchange all of your bad pieces and exchange your bad pawns. It is said that the former world champion, Bobby Fischer, the American, never had bad pieces because whenever he had a bad piece, he exchanged it. Now, we have been saying a lot of this bad piece, good piece, and all of that, But what is even the meaning of this? Someone might be asking, what does it mean to have a bad piece? You know, he keeps saying this. I don't understand what he means. So Let us see it then. Right. So we have a very made up position for training purposes, but the bishop on d2 is a definition of a bad piece, mainly because a bad bishop is a bishop that the pawns in the center have the same color as it. And it's even worse. All the pawns are on the same color as this bishop. This bishop is almost like a pawn. It is a very tall pawn, right? This is a picture of a bad piece and a piece that is not active. The bishop can't even make a move. If it moves, it's going to be taken. It can't go anywhere. It can't attack. It can't defend. It is a terrible piece. Zoe?
I just wanted to say that it has to move though, because there's no other moves for whites.
Correct, because then it will be unfortunate for the opponent. If they are not able to move, they have to lose a piece. But technically, because this position is made up, it won't really help if the bishop moves here. We can't take because of clear reasons that we'll lose a piece. But yeah, we could end up winning the position if we are playing accurately. But I just wanted to show clearly why the position is the bad piece and the active piece. Zoe?
Actually, if the bishop goes to e1 or c1 and the knight takes, it would be stalemate.
That's what I was saying. So if the bishop goes here, you have to find other moves. You know, maybe go to c1 or something. And then, yeah, you could get a draw. It's possible, but also you could win. But the point wasn't for us to win the game. I just wanted to show you a diagram of a bad piece and an piece that's not active. Keithan?
Oh, bishop is bad. And also, if the bishop went to c1, then you can take the pawn on f2. And if the king takes, you can, I think, I'm not sure.
No, it's correct. Very good. The position is so bad, you must be losing. We can even sacrifice. And oops, what is this? The pawn is queening by force, right? It's GG. So the opponent, if they go here, it's still the same thing. They lose a pawn, and it's even winning. Okay, Zoe, your hand is raised. Good job.
Sorry, I never put it down.
Oh, that's fine. All right, so now then let's continue and see what happened in this game. Now we know some of these things I keep saying. Let's continue. So a5 was played to try and, now some of you had good ideas. I don't want to exchange my good bishop, but this is not really a bad knight. The knight can make a move forward. Any piece that can make a move forward is not a bad piece because it will even be in the center. And the knight in the center is a very strong piece. So this bishop is okay, it's good, but what exactly is it attacking? The pawn on f7 is defended 3 times, and we also want to play a5 so that we target the pawn on b7 if this bishop moves. So let's see what happens. So they exchange the pieces, and now the opponent puts their bishop in the center. Everyone is following the rules. Now knights belong in the center. The knight is attacked, the knight relocates. Now, first of all, even though we have plans, it's the middle game, we need to come up with plans, but we can't ignore the opponent's threats. Our plans must wait for us before we can play any move, because we might end up losing. The opponent threatens mate, so we need to stop that. Knight f4 defends the threat and also attacks. Now we start looking for targets to attack in the opponent's side of the board. And the target is a piece that is not protected, hanging piece. And the hanging piece is the pawn on b7, and that's what the world champion plays, rook a, attacking the hanging piece. And now he continues with the same thing. Look for targets to attack in the opponent's position. So do you see that these things, I'm not making them up, right? This is how you play the middle game, whether you are playing at beginner level or playing at super grandmaster level. These 4-step method I'll share this method with you as I give you practice and skill, because this is the most important part. We are just going to run over time a little bit because we started a bit late. Sorry about that. Maybe 5 or so minutes. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right. Thank you for understanding. So the practice and skill, I will share this 4-step method with you, and I'll include the steps you should try to make sure you make this part of your thinking process. Remember, chess is a game of the brain. It's two generals fighting over the board. Chess is the greatest battle board game in the world, and it's the oldest also. Chess is over 1,500 years old, and it's the best battle board game. So you need to come up with the best plans, and this will help you have a big advantage and confidence when you play in the middle game, because you now know a step-by-step process that can help you to find good moves in the middle game. As you see it happening here in this game. Queen A5, look for targets to attack in the opponent's camp. The hanging piece, you see, that's the target there. But do you notice the target is changing all the time? That's why your plan should be 3 to 5 moves long. You can't have the same target all the time, unless you play a very poor player who just blunders their king, that you attack the king from the beginning to the end. There are some games like that. But for the most part, the plan changes, so the target can change. So he attacks it. The bishop now, you see, black also follows the same rule. Look for targets. You must always look for the attacking move. Even black, we are not really looking at black's side, but we can take this as a learning moment. Always look for attacking moves in the side of the opponent first, before you even defend. This is called counter-attacking chess. The rook is how many points? Quickly, someone. Zoe, how much point is the rook?
It's 5.
Correct, right. So the pawn is 1 point. So our move, our threat is bigger. White doesn't have time to take. So the rook must move, of course. Now we attack that bishop. And now the opponent makes a very sharp move, plays b5. We can capture and take a pawn. We have simply won a pawn. Ethan?
Because they didn't have to defend that bishop, because also there's a counter threat. If they take the bishop, the queen takes b1.
When they played b5. Yes, no, that's
Before
true.
they played b5,
Yes.
they don't have to defend the bishop even.
Yes, but the point is, white doesn't really have to take the bishop. The threat is better than the execution, or letting your opponent feel threatened is more important than making a move. You just leave it here. White will go and take this pawn next and attack the b7 pawn with his rook and his queen. So do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so b5 was played, and then pawn takes. Now you see, by following the 4-step method, he has won a pawn. He now has a winning advantage because he's up with the pawn. He's up with the pawn and he has a pass pawn. If he should go in the endgame, he is already has a winning advantage. Now let's see how the game went on. Now pass pawns must be pushed. We start preparing to push the pawn. The opponent attacks our very nice knight, because the knight is closer, is strong when it's near the center. The knight makes a powerful move. Bongaletu, what is the idea behind knight h5? Again, look, we are attacked. We go back to the list. Look for a target to attack in the opponent's half of the board. And what does he do? He doesn't defend passively. He finds knight h5. What is the idea behind knight h5?
Knight takes f6.
Yes, knight takes f6. Look for targets to attack. This is a weak pawn, and there are tactics as well that are involved. Knight f6. So he has to defend. And what does he do? He defends the knight, because this time we don't have any targets to attack right now. Our own knight is under attack, so we need to stop and defend the knight. And now the king moves back. We sacrifice the bishop, the rook for the bishop, for 2 reasons. The bishop is very powerful, and we want to take away this pass pawn so that we have a position that's winning and the opponent doesn't have any counterplay. And after this, black is simply losing. Look at all the white pieces working together, and now the new target is the king. The list doesn't have to remain the same. It changes step by step, so your plan must always be changing. Now the target is the king. White is bringing pieces to attack the king. White has 2 pawns for an 2 pawns and a knight for a rook. So the price of the pieces is the same. A pawn, what is a knight and 2 pawns gives us what value, Zoe?
Two knights and 1 pawn.
One knight and 2 pawns. Sorry, I said the wrong thing.
Oh, 1 knight and 2 pawns gives us the value of 5 points.
And what is the rook's price again?
5 points.
So you see it is equal, right? In fact, white has an advantage. It's the same value. We have the same points and we have an attack against the king. And now the opponent gives us check. We move, Zoe.
I just wanted to say that white is also better because they have a passed pawn as well.
Exactly. So that when we go to the end game, we are even winning already. Now the rook is attacking our queen, and now checkmate ends the game. Oops, what is happening here? Look, the opponent attacks our queen. We forget the queen. We divide the board like this. In the middle game, the most important thing is to remember always this. The step 1 of the method is the most important one. Look for a target to attack in the opponent's half of the board. The king is the target. And he doesn't even defend the queen. Goes and sacrifices on a7. Ethan?
I was about to ask, why didn't they just play knight takes f6? But then I realized the queen is defending h7 as well.
Yes. That's a good point. Or that would be the Arabian mate, but the queen would be coming back. So the queen took, and now we are even winning more, seriously. We have 3 pawns and a knight versus a rook. We have 6 points, they have 5. And now this is an end game. We'll just quickly see why the opponent resigned. Why do you think the opponent resigned after d6? Ethan?
The attack is just too strong.
Okay, that's a good point. Keith and Naidu?
A white has a pass pawn, and also if the queen tries to stop the pass pawn, then the knight can also take f6. It's attacking f6.
Right, correct. Okay. Zoe?
I think they resigned because that passed pawn is pushing, and even if they protect the pawn by going queen d8, then their queen isn't very active compared to ours, and it's not really doing much but protecting the pawn.
Yes, that is correct. Bongoletu?
I don't think black can get the passed pawn, and then there's also an knight takes f6, and then with a combination of the queen, which it can make a discovered attack.
Yes, very good. And I'll show you what could have happened. So we see that the opponent has to defend the pawn. They can't go away from the pawn. If you go here, oops, it's lost. You can resign. The queen is under attack. The rook can't move because there's a X-ray happening on the long diagonal. So that won't happen. Only 2 good moves can be played, here or here. Here is not so good because we can win right away by d7. We are going to make a queen if the opponent doesn't defend. So the opponent has to play the queen back here. But after this, we simply have a winning position soon. How can you? Okay, Zoe, your hand is raised.
I think we can just play knight f6 or takes f6.
Correct. Knight f6 is the tactic, and I think that's what everyone has seen. Now this is the problem. You can't take because oops. What is this? There's a queen on the board. So this is just resigns. And if you move away, even more pain, right? The X-ray can happen, or we can even try this one. Check what is the best X-ray that we have. Yeah, but even this is fine because he can pin himself, and we can play what now? Yeah, this would be too slow.
Knight to c.
Let's see what. I think this is the best move. So that now here we can even start attacking the king itself. We can, yeah, what a nice move. Right, now you can't take here because of this. So you would lose the game on the spot. Now we're attacking the rook twice. It's a fork and it's lost. So there were so many things. The only other move is to play queen here, but even still we do the same thing. We play d7.
Coach?
Yes.
Quickly, can you go back to that position? I think I saw something. After knight takes f6. And the rook took the pawn.
The rook took the pawn. Which one is this now?
In
So-
the variation
so we
where the
said
rook took
here-
the pawn.
No, this one loses on the spot. Okay, let's just go to the notation so we can see. Is this the one where you give check here?
Yeah, can't the queen take here?
Yeah, well, the queen can take, but still the king and pawn ending is losing. You take here. This is the point. I didn't look at it now, but I saw it now. And then the end game is lost. We have 2 pawns. We have a pass pawn. It resigns. Right away,
Okay.
when you play f4, and they are forced to take. And after this, if they don't take, it's even worse. No, we have 2 pass pawns. They have no chance to survive. It's just losing. Okay, Keithan.
If you go back to the one move, if you take the rook, the rook takes the pawn,
Oh, okay. You mean when it's like this?
then can't you take the rook?
Yeah, you could actually. This is even better. Yeah. Well done. Yeah, that's the best way. This is much cleaner. There's no arguments here. This position is easily winning. And it's forced. Check is forcing. The queen can't move. The king is in check. Check means you look at your king, so the queen has to take. Knight f6, the king moves somewhere and it's just lost. Right, okay, so we saw the at least for today, we have seen this idea repeated over and over again. We have also seen this idea. The ones that we still need to really see in action are activate the least active piece in your position. We saw some of it with the rooks and all of that, the knight coming towards the center. So, but I wasn't highlighting them as much, but at least for now, since this is the start of our journey that we plan to take on this middle game, we have laid out now the formula to play good middle games. This is a 4-step method you can follow and be confident to be able to find good moves when you play middle games. And okay, I plan to share the stuff with you and also give you the practice and skill, because I must let you know, practice and skill is the most important part of this entire lesson. All this time we have spent means nothing if you don't go and practice these things. Because if you see someone riding a bicycle, that doesn't mean you can also ride a bicycle. You have just seen someone doing it. But when you try it, when you fall down, when you struggle, the more you do it, now it becomes something you do. It's now a skill. That's what a skill means. Skill means something you can do very well. Like for instance, you are not, if a 5-year-old comes and say, come, I'll be your dentist from today, you're not going to allow that person to touch your teeth. They have no experience. They have no skill to do dentistry work. So skill means you are good at what you do and you know how to do it. So the same must be with your chess. All of these things will mean nothing if you don't practice and make them a skill. So usually for Zoe and Ethan who are new to these groups, I usually give you homework to do that we check part of the practice and skill. So in the next lesson, the first few minutes, we are going to recap, watch what happened, what was the homework, and all of that. But these lessons are a bit shorter now. The plan is for me to make tournaments for you guys. The 4 of you, I'll make a training game tournament, but we can't do it all in the same night. In the last month, we tried to do it all at once, but it was a bit too much. So I plan to create a training tournament with positions that you guys need to learn to play following these ideas. And as soon as I create the tournament, I'll share it with you guys and you guys can join the tournament on Leeches. So Yeah. All right. So before we wrap up, sorry, we ended up going much over time. I said 5 minutes. We ended up going 15 minutes. Sorry about that. But before you go, is there any questions?
No.
Okay.
No.
No one has any questions or comments?
No.
All right. So, but before I kick you out, I need to hear at least 2 things from each person. What are at least 2 things that you have learned in today's lesson? So we'll start with Zoe.
I think I've learned more about those 4 steps, and I think that I've learned a lot about the middle game because I haven't been really good with the middle game or end game lately.
Okay, wonderful. That's really great to hear. Okay, Bongo Letu.
I've learned that how to activate a list piece and bring all the pieces to the center to attack the weak square, weak pieces, and the king. Look for targets.
Yes, very good. Wonderful. Keith and I do.
I've learned that I'm not so good in end games. No, I mean in middle games. So, today you helped me a lot with the middle games.
That's amazing. Great stuff. I'm glad to hear that. Ethan.
Today I learned many rules of thumbs about the middle game from the middle game to-do list, and
Yes.
I have learned the general plans of what you want to do in the middle game
Yes.
and about the how to plan out in advance for the end game and prep for it in the opening.
Amazing stuff. Well, all these things sound good, but I won't be flattered too quickly. I need to see you people do these things. So, like I said, the plan is next week, Wednesday. Before we start, we are going to check if you do the training or the practice and skill that I'll share with you in the week. And then we'll really see whether all these things, we are actually doing them. Because it's not enough to say these things, we need to do them. That way, they really become a skill. Right? Okay. Thank you so much. Have a good night. And as always, keep chasing. Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.